so much for agreeing to do this with me. The purpose of these conversations is to find ways that we can interconnect communities, we can interconnect businesses, and I think you're the most perfect person to start off with. What I want to know is upbringing. So the beginning of the story, because the journey is so important to tell. Where does that start? Where was home? How was that?
Look, I have a very interesting upbringing, if you want to call it as such. My dad is actually Zulu all the way from Newcastle. My mom was born in Grafrenet, so it's basically a mixture of Xhosa and Afrikaans colored in her blood. I grew up in George, and long story short, if you want to call it as such, I grew up in a colored community. Funny enough, they told me I could speak fluent Zulu, at the age of 4 or 5 or whatever the case might be. From there, I went to different schools, and to be honest, only in hindsight I can see how that basically benefited my life now. Colored primary school, Model C high school, and then a multiracial varsity, which basically shaped a lot of my thinking and how I see and basically give my views of life. So that's the whole upbringing of Gershwyn specifically. And when someone asks me like, okay, what race are you? I'm very conflicted in that. I'm like, look man, I'm South African and I'm human. So in that regard, I have to say it really influenced how I think mom, dad, the diversity and everything. My mom passed away. My dad, actually, we start there, passed away when I was very young. So I didn't know the gentleman, basically. Mom passed away. I don't know the grades, but standard 3 or 4, she passed away. So my aunt was really my rock. And from that young and tender age already, I knew like, Gershwyn, if you want to make a success out of your life, if you want to do something with your life, it's gonna come from you, and you don't have to look for outside motivation. I mean, my upbringing in itself should be motivation enough.
Exactly.
And again, I'm very humbled that I could go through that because it shaped me.
And how would you say, growing up, the inspirational factors? So beyond the circumstance, what else were the shaping things that built that motivation and built that drive?
Look, throughout my life, I had mentors, whether I realized it or not. So how to deal with people and situations, I have to say it's my aunt, because she was a rock, my man. Like, one thing, I won't say I grew up poor. For the main reason, we always had things to eat. I didn't have the most lavish life, but that doesn't constitute of making me a poor person, So it started there already. Mindset-wise, specifically with her, it's how to treat people and making sure that, you're always fair, but you're always your own person and standing your ground. Going to school, I participated in sports, so my sports teacher played a big role in teamwork and, how to observe that. So like I said, a couple of mentors throughout. I have to say I'm a spiritual guy, and I had a Christian organization group also in school that really helped me in that aspect of my life. So like I said, regarding not having everything that I wanted, but looking in hindsight, I had a lot of mentors, taking me through life. In varsity, I actually studied LLB law. Nothing to do with this industry.
I was about to say,
nothing to do with this industry, but
so on that, actually, how do you get into now the lifestyle branding? How do you get into the business? What was that process like from LLB and now coming into this?
2018, I came back home.
So back home from, you had mentioned varsity was?
Yeah, I was in Cape Town. Yeah, there was UWC.
Okay.
So I was there for a wee bit. Changed a lot of things. Obviously, impregnated my girlfriend at the time, and then obviously a baby sprung from that. I had to be a big man. I dropped out. I had to look for different ways and how I can be a dad and support my family. And speaking about the mentors, I was actually joining a sales company. which even though I studied law, I've never loved reading, at all. I didn't like it. But then coming into this sales company, they taught me a lot about leadership. And that's where I started, getting engaged about the reading. Instead of reading for I have to, now reading for I want to. Was the biggest mindset or adjustment in that regard. So then I came back home 2018. Basically wanted to continue my studies, but then I didn't have money. And being a full-time student again wasn't realizing for me, because I needed cash. I needed some cash flow, like I said, to maintain my lifestyle, but also to take care of my loved ones. And then I just came in here to say, look, I want to have a job because I want to pay my school fees. Started in the bar here. In fact, having no experience, but I actually liked it because I had so much to learn and I didn't know anything. One thing that was fascinating about me is that was around about the time that craft gin started taking effect in our region, which is George. So I read up a lot about it. I was actually presenting it at tables with our trolley.
People,
so engaging. So people always was something that I knew I was going into, because I love being around other people. Hence, doing admin is a schlep for me. I see it as a chore. But give me a rude customer anytime or anyways, and I know how to deal with it because I love working with people. I started here in the bar, and then 3 months after the fact, they said, look, man, I think you will slot in nicely into our management team. I was like, look, man, I don't know anything about this industry, but I'll give my best. And then literally I worked in every department, being a waiter, being a barman, flipping, helping out in scullery and understanding how important it is to wash dishes and having clean dishes, being in the kitchen. So everything else, I'm not theoretically clued up with hospitality, but I have to say, with the old doing and practical side and getting hands dirty, I think I've started cracking it.
And something that you spoke about, and it was actually a conversation we had the first time we met, mentorship. There was someone you had mentioned that you're working with and trying to develop those skills. How important would you say that was when you had joined the company and working in so many different sectors of the restaurant? How important was mentorship, and how do you try and carry on that practice with people coming under you and below you?
Very good question. And if I have to filter that question, one thing I have to say, I hate, and it's a strong word, but I hate being micromanaged. Okay? So give me the skills, give me the know-how, and let me run with it. That's what I enjoyed. And I saw my predecessor, her name is Anya Brits, she's actually currently in India now, how she ran this place, and I was in awe. With the way she interacted with customers, how she knew her customers off by heart, the type of conversations she had with different customers, getting me into drinking wines, getting me knowledgeable on wines, and then she was that person for me, and she allowed me to make mistakes, and that's basically what I loved. And then I told myself, look, man, if I really want to leave a legacy and if I really want to have an impact, it's some words from John C. Maxwell, and it really strikes me.
That growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. I noticed that.
So that is the law of the rubber band. But if you really want to generate wealth and income, it's difficult doing it on your own. You need a team. So that's where I realized I need people around me that, can execute my vision and that can basically do things the way I would like to do things. And that's when we started, normally what happened is we would get people from outside with their expertise coming in, but realizing that, look, man, they don't understand our establishment. So why don't we take someone that already has that, knowledge about our establishment, and then groom them in that regard. because I'm not going to be here always. We're also looking at expanding in different spheres and in different projects.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be difficult for one person having to deal with all of these things.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately brought the decision about as to bringing someone internally and growing them into a role where I am. And that makes my life easier.
A bit easier.
You know, I can just ask questions, why isn't this done?
Yeah.
So in that regard, I think not only to make my job easier, but also playing a part in bettering someone else's future or life. You know, it's nice when someone can actually say that, you know what, that guy helped me getting X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's just part of the process. And, you know, to shift the conversation to more current times with COVID and lockdown, it must have been extremely difficult readapting to that, all the changes that were going on. What was that experience like, especially from March 2020 up until now?
So, firstly, we're not going to run away of the fact because we lost money, you know, and we lost a lot of money. Not only us, but I mean, many people, especially in the tourism industry, it was a tough nut to crack. But then having to balance still running a business, because the ultimate purpose of running a business is to make money and to grow, you know, but not losing the human aspect of it. And then I think we're one of the few to only restaurants to still keep the bulk. When I'm talking about the bulk of our staff during this period was basically what brings me back to the original conversation or the original purpose of this conversation, connecting communities with our business. We understand, we know that a lot of people working here as breadwinners in their respective lives, and the reality is, if we let them go, a few other people can suffer from that. So we kept the bulk of it. We lost a lot of money. We had to relook at the layout of our restaurant, you know. So we lost seats where previously, hypothetically speaking, we could have seated 120 people. Now we can only seat about 70, 65 people in the restaurant, and that will make your restaurant full. So we lost a lot of seating. A lot of us, you know, took pay cuts, specifically starting at management. But I think in some ways we were quick in reacting in it, you know, making sure that we adaptable, and also making sure that we follow regulations, because people specifically going to a place, they would like to feel safe. And regardless of what your brand is and how it looks like, if you can't make people feel safe, then it will be what you call it, a revolving door. So you'll see people coming in and going out and not spending any money. And that was the biggest challenge for us, having to clinch and hold on to our regular customer base, number one, but also number two, making sure that we have sufficient staff and enough people that can hold their own and still support their families. So if I have to answer that question, that was the biggest struggle, making sure that we still get people into our restaurant at the same time, you know, keeping the bulk of the staff and not getting rid of them. Because as we speak, it's not only the period of going through a lockdown, but it's the aftermath and the readjustment, because nothing goes back to normal. And that's basically what we had to deal with, is the aftermath of a COVID, of a lockdown, of a restriction, etc. And like I said, nothing is going back to normal, so we can't trade as per normal, we can't order in as per normal, and we can't have normal shifts. So it's a far-reaching repercussion, if I can call it as such, you know, than just having the lockdown. It is being mindful that, okay, you can't trade for a specific period of time, but after the fact, in just that small amount of time, how much did we lose? You know?
And something that, you know, you had mentioned earlier is in the tourism industry, innovation is a very important thing. And I can only imagine how difficult it must have been dealing with the COVID challenges and still having to make sure there's an introduction of new meals, there's an introduction of new wine, there's, aesthetical parts. How was that? Because innovation forms a really important part of tourism.
Look, in that regard, I have to say it has been easy for us because with that amount of time on our hands, we could play around more. We could actually cross-train staff because we had the time.
Yeah.
We're a restaurant that doesn't close. We open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
We don't close between, how can I say it, between services because we run all three, breakfast, lunch and dinner. So sometimes it is a bit difficult training staff when you don't close, when there's no period, no set time to do so. So we have to make time and we have to find time. Whereas now we could clue them up on new dishes. We could clean. We could deep clean. We could do all the things that we couldn't do in a normal setting when we run a restaurant.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we were fortunate enough.
Yeah.
So we could cross-train and bring staff up to speed, and make them knowledgeable about their different menus and what we want them to get knowledgeable about.
And part of that as well is opening the Ilali sister restaurant
Yep.
that had opened. And that, if I'm not mistaken, was also during this entire period last year, which must have been a whole other type of, because that's,
Yeah, a lot of people thought we're crazy because why would you
do that?
Why would you enter into a new project? In this difficult time, and specifically looking at wilderness. Wilderness is pretty much a very tourism-driven based area. Number one, and number two, they heavily reliant on tourists and season, of which we didn't have because we were in a lockdown at then as well. But the reality is, even with the meltdown, of Wall Street, even with whatever difficult, difficult periods that the human race has entered into, there's always been people thriving. Why? And that was our argument. This is the perfect time opening up a new venture or going into a new venture, because not only that, but also prove the status quo wrong. Because where everybody was minimizing, we were expanding. And it might have been a stupid idea that we hopefully think that it will come into fruition, very soon. But currently it's still tough. It's still very tough. But during COVID, a lot of new ventures popped up. A lot of businesses closed down. But I think it's about cash flow, yes, but it's also about the management thereof.
Yes.
Because I feel like if you really stuck to your guns and you know your business and you know how to run your business and you're active within your business, yes, it will hurt, but it will hurt a lot less, than not being involved, not keeping your finger on the pulse.
Exactly.
So I think it opened up opportunity more than it coming to destroy. Yeah.
And then to close off the conversation, to link it to what I was saying in the beginning, connections are the core part of this, and finding out the ways in which one's connections have shaped them is important, because I feel like during this period we've been so separated that that's the one thing we need. So how would you say the connections made, family, friendships, you name them, have brought you to this position or have assisted you even on an emotional front? How important has connection been?
Do you mean personally, or do you mean on a business scale?
On a business scale, but mostly on a personal front. So the personal relationships that have been made in friendships, how those help to shape you and still keep you together.
Look, it's pretty much catch-22, because like you said, the whole purpose of having hard lockdowns is to separate people and to make sure that there's no big groups and gatherings, and specifically in my family, in my culture, when I'm speaking culture, I'm speaking African culture in general.
Yeah.
We are all about masses, groups, and togetherness. Personally, it has affected me because I haven't, up until recently, I haven't seen my child since 2019. She stays all the way in Stellenbosch. I couldn't travel till there, and vice versa. And obviously, we were scared, and we didn't want to put anybody in jeopardy. So it took an emotional toll, personally. But having seen how the business could offer a platform, basically, for people to come together. That has been a brilliant sight to see, because many a times when you see groups of people coming in, you automatically think it's because of a function or some type of event happening. But it went from that style of gathering just to, I want to see my family, I want to have interaction with other people, and us as a restaurant having to provide that platform, or being able to provide that platform, was heartwarming. And then getting responses like, thank you so much, we haven't seen each other in ages, this and that,
It was powerful.
It is powerful, and that creates new customer base, and it creates reoccurring customers. Whereas you feel, as a person working in this industry, I'm just serving people. No, you're doing more than that. Specifically in this period of time, you're bringing people together, and you're providing them, with an opportunity to basically spend time and catch up, which I saw and felt like it was invaluable, because it has been something that has been taken away from us. And we all just want to belong as human beings.
We all just want to belong.
And we could provide that belonging basically in a simple establishment as 101 Meade.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22 for me, because in the personal front it was a bit difficult, but in the business sense I could see how having a setting like this and providing a service like this brought people together.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate
Absolute
it so
pleasure.
much. Actually, something that just popped into my mind is, what are your personal hopes for the future?
Sure. Look, I actually have 100 dreams. Dreams, but 100 dream sheet that I still operate with.
Okay.
So if we're going into this conversation, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But for a lot of reasons, I feel like I'm a person that's really a go-getter. So I hate feeling like a quitter. Hence, I wanna finish my law degree. For me, what I want to do with it, I'm not 100% sure, because one thing I know, I don't want to be a criminal lawyer. I wanted to go into constitution because it really fascinated me. But now I want to use it for business, because I saw and I realized I love business a lot more. But just for that sense of personal accomplishment, flip man, you did it, and you haven't given up. So that's one thing. I have no aspirations of yet to travel abroad, because I feel like I have so much to see within South Africa. I want to do small towns in Eastern Cape, small towns in Northern Cape. I've traveled a lot, don't get me wrong, but I still feel like I personally haven't been to Limpopo province, nor Mpumalanga. I wanna explore that front, because I know that specifically in the Limpopo region has a lot of natural beauty in there that I really want to observe. But I still feel like there's so much that I want to explore and see in South Africa, that in that regard I don't have any aspirations of yet to go abroad. There's a couple of things. I actually want to move back to Cape Town, because I feel with what I've acquired and the learnings I've got, that is best suited for me currently, specifically looking at moving into this industry. Sure, obviously I wanna be able to be in my own house. I was lucky enough to extend my parental house, but it's still not mine. I extended it for them.
I like that.
But I wanna move into my own place. There's a lot. I actually wanna take on modeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not for the physique or anything of the sort. I just love clothes and wearing stuff that suits me.
That you like,
yeah. So there's a lot of things that if I have to pop in just quickly, that's one of the few things that I really would want to achieve before I want to kick the curb.
No problem. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for doing this.